section 4.5. In section 4.5, we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing numbers that are written in scientific notation. So instead of putting them in standard form, multiplying and dividing them, putting them back in scientific, I'm going to show you the steps to keep them in scientific notation and do the calculations. Part 1, I'm going to group multiplication and division together first. We're going to evaluate each expression, and we're going to express the result in scientific notation. Okay, so all of our answers need to be in scientific notation. Here are my steps over here in the yellow box. The first step, you're going to multiply the numbers. The second step, you're going to multiply the powers of 10 by adding their exponents, and that's the product of powers rule. When you're multiplying two things with the same base, you add their exponents. So, let me do some with you. First one, multiply the number. So here's the number, not the part that is the product of 10. Remember, this just means a number, a very large number, times another very large number. You multiply these two numbers. So I do 4.62 times 8.15. Yes, you may be using a calculator. I get 37.653 times 10, and to multiply my powers, 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 9th, I add 5 plus 9, and I get 14. You're almost done, except the problem said to put the answer in scientific notation. Just getting this to move. Oh, it won't move over. It says in the directions to make it in scientific notation. So what you have to do is move this over one, move it back, because the decimal must be after the first number in scientific notation. This number needs to be between from 1 to 10 times 10, and if you moved this decimal 1, you need to add 1 here. 14 plus 1 is 15. And that's our answer. Let's try one very similar with negative exponents now. Okay, these negative exponents, again, instead of very large numbers, they're very small numbers. Okay, they're not negative numbers. Multiply our numbers. 7.53 times 2.93. Oops, 2.93 times. I get 22.0629 times 10. Negative 8 plus negative 3, negative 11. Again, this is not in scientific notation. So I move this one place to the left, 2.20629 times 10. I add 1 to this. Even though it's negative, you still add 1. Negative 11 plus 1 would be negative 10. Okay, let's try another one. This one's a little bit different, because one of the numbers is not in scientific notation. So you need to put it in scientific notation and then follow the steps that we did. So to put this number in scientific notation, we move the decimal to right after the first number, 1.5 times 10. We moved it from here to here, 1, 2, 3 spots. So these are the two numbers we're multiplying. 1.2 times 10 to the 7th times 1.5 times 10 to the 3rd. Multiply your numbers. 1.2 times 1.5, I get 1.8 times 10. 7 plus 3 is 10. I don't need to move this, it's already in scientific notation, so you're done. Okay, let's try number 4. And then we'll do some division. This is 1.2 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the 4th. Multiply these two numbers. 6.4 times 1.2. Get 7.68 times 10. Negative 5 plus 4 gives me a negative 1. Now let's try some division. Steps divide the numbers. So, similar to multiplying, instead of multiplying, now we're dividing. When you divide the powers of 10, you have to subtract their exponents. That's our quotient of powers rule that we learned a couple sections ago. So, here's our first example. I do 4.62 divided by 1.4. This pen marking here. I get 3.3 times 10. And I'm going to do 5, take away, negative 9. Well, 5 take away a negative, that means plus 5 plus 9 is 14. Okay? It kind of should make sense logically if you think about it. This is a big number, and you're dividing it by a decimal. When you divide by a decimal or you divide by a fraction, it's actually going to make your number much larger, okay? Because you're making it into even smaller pieces. So we have a very large number answer here. Okay, let's try one more, and then we'll move on to addition and subtraction. Divide our numbers, 8.32 divided by 1.3. When I divide these, I get 6.4 times 10, subtract 7 minus 5, 2. It's in scientific notation because the decimal's after the first number. Okay, let's do some addition and subtraction, and then we're done. There are a lot of steps for this, so be careful. Write these all down so we can go over it. Okay, part 2, addition and subtraction. Steps. Make the exponents the same by decreasing the larger exponent to match the smaller exponent. And I put stars here because this is the hardest part of this problem. Decimal moves to the right. When you're adding numbers, you need to line up their places. Okay? And when you're lining up their places, so our exponents need to be the same. And this is how we do it. We take our larger exponent. So in this problem, 7 is the larger exponent compared to 5. And in order to make this so that it's 10 to the 5th, that's our goal, so that they have the same exponent, we have to move this decimal. And since we're we're releasing this number and making it larger, the decimal moves to the right. We went from 7 to 5, so we're going to move it 2 places to the right. 1, 2, because we took away 2 from here. So this is going to become 170 times 10 to the 5th plus 6.25 times 10 to the 5th. That's step 1. Add and subtract your numbers. We have 170 plus 6.25. When you add those, you should get 176.25. Keep the base 10 times 10 to the 5th, which is what they both have. And the last thing, check to make sure your answer is in scientific notation. This is not. So what we have to do, let me grab a different color so it's easier to see. We need to move this 2 places this way, so that means we're going to add 2, because we're going back to the left. It becomes 1.7625 times 10 to the 7th place. So make sure you've written down all those steps. It is difficult. We will do many of these in class practice. Let's do one more, and then that'll be it for today. I'm going to move this third one out. I can't move it out here. Maybe we'll do 2 more because it's subtraction. Okay. Make these 2 the same. The larger one needs to become the same as the smaller one. So this needs to become 10 to the 5th. So you move this to the right. So it's 24 times 10 to the 5th. Because I took away 1, so I take away 1 here. Plus 7.3 times 10 to the 5th. Next step, add your numbers. 7.3 plus 24 is 31.3 times 10 to the 5th. Check to see if that's in scientific notation. It's not. We need to move it 1 place to the left. It becomes 3.13 times 10, add 1 here, to the 6th. All right, I'll do 1 subtraction with you, and then that'll be it, because I think the video is getting a little long. Subtraction. 11, 9. We got to make the 11 come down to the 9, so 10 to the 9th. We move this 2 places, so move this 2 places. 284 times 10 to the 9th minus 5.4 times 10 to the 9th. 284 minus 5.4 is 278.6 times 10 to the 9th. And then make it so that it is in scientific notation. Back 2. Add 2 here. There you go. And that's it for today. We'll do a bunch more in class. Have a good night.